That's me, yeah. So my name's JackAnderson. A little bit about myself. I'm 22 years old and I've done 2 years of games development at South Essex College back in 2017 to 2019. And then I went and did 3 years of VR video games back at Escape Studios in central London. I landed my first job in a company known as Interior Night. I don't know if you've ever heard of the game they made. It's called As Dusk Falls. It's a story game. I was only there for 4 months, and then I've been looking for another job since September. And then I landed an offer a couple of weeks back at Endreams, which is a VR company located in Farnborough, which I'll be starting there in the middle of January next year. What I studied at university and I have a passion for is games VFX, so that's basically what I'm starting to specialise in. What I do, basically I live by, if you play the wizard, I make the fireball. The programs I come across that I learned throughout my university was Unreal being the main engine we use. There wasn't any Unity, to be honest. It was mainly all Unreal stuff. The next one was Maya, mainly for modelling. We didn't really touch on Blender. Blender was an option we were allowed to be doing, but a lot of people preferred Maya. It was just easier to locate, the controls were a lot easier. This one, there isn't exactly an icon for it, so it's more of, this is Niagara, which is a particle system inside Unreal. It's what I use to do the majority of my effects for any portfolio work or any work I did during the time spent at uni. Of course, Photoshop is a big one for textures or anything that I need. It's just a main one for VFX artists, or even if you needed to edit a texture or anything like that, use it. Another one for us is Premiere Pro. Especially if we're doing a piece of portfolio work, we need to use it in order to proceed with getting the best quality of HD for our videos and so forth. Here is one of my effects that has used all of the programs. This is one of my submissions which I took out later on for one of the art session challenges I did. I'll leave that playing in the background. For Had to Learn, this is the program I had to learn while I was working for the Interior Night company for 4 months. Unity, so I completely switched programs from Unreal to Unity, quite a big change because they deal with a lot of stuff that I've never used before. So it was a little bit of a change, but they were willing to teach me it and got to grips with it ever so slightly throughout my 4 months there. That is Embergen. We started to use Embergen maybe a month or 2 in. Embergen is a fluid system program specifically to making really good sprite sheets, which Unity seems to be a lot more efficient with, to use sprite sheets rather than anything else. I had a lot of fun with this program. It's definitely one that I've continued to use even after leaving the company. It's definitely great for VFX artists. So another one I had to learn was After Effects. After Effects is very good. It's a lot better than Premiere Pro for editing certain things, especially sprite sheets, again, to make them fit the page be more better quality for the game. I didn't learn too much of this, but it's definitely one that I would like to pick up again in the future. Other main roles programs. This is for any other job roles, material artists, environment artists, prop artists, lighting artists, basically anything, any of the other roles. You have, what is that one? Yes, this is paint, Substance Painter. You have Substance Painter. That is mainly where you would texture all assets that you make for any kind of game. You can also do environments in there. It's more efficient if you were to use something like Substance Designer. With Substance Designer, it lets you make massive materials that can be tileable and textured. Just basically slap into a building. That means you don't have to worry about it, and it can be repeated across multiple buildings throughout the level, being so it's more of a background thing. Another one is ZBrush. ZBrush is obviously, it involves sculpting, where it's better to use maybe graphics tablet or something, this kind of work. Definitely for the more detailed pieces. It's a lot of fun to use. I did use it quite a lot, but there's so many different brushes and so many different tools. So if you want to ever go into the character artist or environment, ZBrush is definitely a must learn, I reckon, just because of how much detail we can get into it. And the final one is Blender. Blender is obviously the other program, and Maya, unfortunately, is a paid program, so a lot of it's lucky that a lot of you guys are able to use it throughout your college and university if you go there. Blender is one probably to learn in your own time just because it's free and you don't have to worry about paying for anything. It also has a lot more tools. I myself have not learned enough of Blender yet, so that's definitely one for me to pick up as well. Socials, how to get yourself out there and why is it important? To get yourself out there, it's definitely important because it helps you get a job in the industry, get more connections. The biggest one is definitely LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I started my account maybe back in middle or beginning of year 2 at university. I now have over 700 connections or something along that line, just because of how I've just connected with a lot of people, and they're all in my line of work as well, sort of games related people. A lot of VFX artists, being I'm a VFX artist myself. Another one is ArtStation. Whenever you do a piece of portfolio work, it's always good to put it onto ArtStation. If you ever decide you want to specialise in anything like myself being a VFX artist, it's always good to get yourself out there and put all your work specialised towards that. For instance, my portfolio holds 6 pieces right now, but they're all VFX related, which means I have a passion for that. So it's always good to get your dedicated work out there. Another big one, which you all might know, Discord, of course. A lot of companies actually still use Discord as their main source of communication. It also is a place home of many different servers that are always willing to help for your particular specialism. I believe I'm in about 2 or 3 VFX related, and they've got so many different channels that allow you to just post your work, get feedback, ask for advice, and there's so many people in there that will always give you a chance to get feedback. It might take a little while, but you'll get there, you'll get some feedback eventually. Another one that isn't too used is Instagram. It's just another thing of social media. I'd say so Instagram, I don't personally use myself, some of my colleagues use it. It's more just because of the story feature where you're able to get stuff up there so quickly, so people are able to see it quickly. It's definitely one that is not as big as these 3, but it's still one you can use if need be. Much more bigger one than Instagram is Twitter. Twitter is used all the time. It's definitely one that you can just post non-stop about your work, retweet other things that you find interesting for other people to see on your timeline that follows you, and so forth. And you always get recommendations to follow other artists, so you're just expanding social media. The last one, which is more for programming people, I don't know too much about it myself, but GitHub's a good one for any programmers and coding. Competitions and why you should do them. I actually received my first job offer based off of one of the competitions I entered. So it's always good to get yourself out there. One I recently entered was the ArtStation Challenge. These happen, I think it's definitely once a year. I don't know if it's every 6 months or so. But this was the first one I did, which was, if you guys have just seen the GIF, that was the project upload I did for it. But it's definitely good to do these challenges because you have a chance to be in a deadline, just like college or university, and the periods are usually quite short, so it's maybe 1.5 months or 2 months. So it's definitely good to get your put yourself out there and do one of them. The one that I attended to get my first job was under the company of Bradley Games. They do Rising Star and Search for Star. So when you come to uni, I believe Rising Star is for anyone who is not in uni or first year of uni, and Search for Star was the one that I did, which has been my 3rd year, and it's more for graduates. They are both competitions that involve lines of VFX competitions, environments, character artists, prop artists, Unfortunately, they don't do the more specific ones being lighter material, but they definitely they produce like 4 different categories that you can choose from. For example, one VFX last year had like a power up or from the depths, and you could pick which one you want to focus on and obviously get into it. I actually became a finalist for it. Unfortunately, I didn't win much. It was a good experience to get some more work out there for myself and challenge myself, considering I knew that I was on the time limit, so I could get some more work out there. I had to post it on itch.io. That is also the home of some game jams, a lot of game jams. Itch.io has plenty of game jams, and game jams you could do a lot with friends. You could do them solo, it's completely up to you. It's definitely a good thing to attend and get together some of your friends. This is a certificate that I won for doing a project with some of my friends from university. It was for the 5-year anniversary for Playtonic, their ukulele game. We called it Monty's Mill. This here is an image of our final result. Me being a VFX artist, I didn't particularly work too much on it, just because a lot of the modelling was done by the rest of the team, but they're still participating in it. And this was just some of the effects I did. These are just some fireflies that I just dotted around a little highlights. But yeah, it was definitely a nice project to come out with. Learning resources, definitely a great way to hone in on the skills and learn about more of your interests that you decide to follow. You have Udemy. Udemy is a massive website where you can find a load of courses, people record themselves, upload. The downside to Udemy is it do have to pay for your courses. They do massive discounts every so often. I believe one course I got to get myself into VFX was, when I was starting to learn, it was of course maybe around £80, but then it reduced to like $14.99. So it was very good course to get myself into VFX. For me personally, anyone else who might be interested in VFX, there is a real-time VFX website that is fully focused on games VFX, where you're able to post all your work or comment on other people, ask for feedback. It's just generally a website that is more honed on specialism rather than just a wide range of things. Discord, again, Discord is another way for learning resources. As I said, you can find so many servers and they're always willing to help you learn more and give you feedback. It's definitely great. I've had a ton of feedback from it during my competitions and so forth. Another one, in fact, is ArtStation. They do in fact have a learning course, which is under where the challenges are as well. And the learning course consists of anything you can possibly want. You've got environments, concept art, illustration, stuff with Unreal Engine, ZBrush, materialized characters, props, and so forth. You can also, there's plenty of trending courses in case anything catches your eye. You've also got continue watching for anything that you're obviously watching, and a lot of them are free, so you can have a look at that as well. Finding your first job. I found my first job as a junior VFX artist, as mentioned, at Material Night. They released As Lost Balls, which was a narrative story game using 3D environments, which were made in wire, textured in Painter, and then ran together in Unity with actually 2D hand painted textures. So the 2D artists were painting thousands of frames a day, and yet their arm was 8. So this is the game. I don't know if you've ever seen it organised at all anywhere or advertised. It was actually free on the Games Pass. It was Games Pass. Those are some of the reviews they got from a lot of like IGN, GameSpot, and The Guardian, and so forth. I joined during somewhat of an awkward phase because they really wanted me, and they hired me as soon as I finished university, which was back in May, so I started early June. But I joined at an awkward phase because they had just finished production and they were looking at ways of like bug fixing. This was also quite an issue because it meant that I wasn't able to actually produce throughout the 4 months there any work for the game, which was quite a little bit disappointment, but I still got the initial idea of how the company works. You know, is it restricted if you think it might be, which it isn't by the way. But another thing is how I found working from home in the office. Ever since COVID, you know, a lot of stuff has been online regarding compared to working in a company. Working from home in a small company definitely is a lot more beneficial, considering that company actually had people from all over the country hired. So some people were in Germany, some people were in France, some people were in fact in Ukraine. So pretty much half the company was remote anyway. So I pretty much worked remote 90% of the time just because me going into the office, you know, trying to save money, so travel costs as well. There also wasn't many people in the office just because, you know, some people were in other countries and some people didn't feel like coming back to the office anyway. So it wasn't always worth going in, only for particular events or so forth. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm still able to get a feel for the company even though I wasn't able to work on the game itself. I did kind of work a little bit in the background of the game to try and get myself around how their art style is and which direction it goes. However, it wasn't particularly a way to get myself on. One of the nice things that I was able to do, the game released back in July this year. I was able to achieve, I was able to attend the release day party, which took place at Catalyst Block in London. This was a great way for me to get way more connections and talk to people about my role there and what I was doing. A lot of it was for people that obviously worked for the company, so I knew them already, but some of them were. For example, these people here were actually actors, so they're actually shot through, I believe, obviously recording and cameras, but obviously then they would have to be painted into 2D characters. So obviously I got to meet some of the actors that were done for our game. And it's just it was on board. The party was up on this massive boat, so yeah, it was a great way. Small area, a lot of people around, so easy connections. What it's like being a junior. Being a junior feels like you're at the bottom of the food chain, honestly. You know that you're not earning as much, but also that makes sense because, you know, you've just started in the industry. It feels like you generally have to feel like you may feel like you have to impress everyone there in order to stay in that role, and think that you may have to have the same level as someone else. Theoretically, you don't, because, you know, there's different role names for a reason. You have junior, senior, lead, and producer. So obviously it goes on higher. You must think, of course, as well, a senior role has like way more experience than you. They have years of you on experience. So you obviously just cut yourself some slack. Another thing is, you know, surprisingly, sometimes you come out with ideas or solutions, and the seniors may not actually know about it, and that can give you a good feeling to have, because you've just given something to them that they didn't know before, and it makes you feel good because you actually knew something that they didn't. As a new junior as well, you just got to feel confident and comfortable with your work. You must expect feedback and always adapt your work because, you know, being, as I said, at the bottom of the food chain, it's perfectly normal to adapt and receive feedback from your work because, you know, you want to make it the best you can, so why not just get everyone's opinion on it. This way you're able to learn and how the company operates, since every company has their own art style and genre. So even if you get into a company which may focus on a different program, use different programs, it doesn't particularly mean that all your work has to be on that new program, because, you know, you still have to go through the interview stage and so forth. So it's always good to just try and make your work as wide as possible using multiple programs for multiple pieces of work. I found that being a junior is where your achievements are shown the most. Receiving positive words from like upper artists about your work and then telling you it's done and you can move on to the next piece is definitely a good feeling to have, because obviously you want to progress and show that you're worthy of basically working for the company. A junior is all about taking small steps to eventually work up to your first game release, and obviously seeing your names in the credits, which is a great feeling to have if you see your name there at the end of the game. Regarding CV-wise, what jobs ask for. So things to consider, a good CV for a junior position can contain small paragraph about yourself, or in the recruiter. This would just talk about maybe your background, where you come from, what you're passionate about. Another thing is experience. Now, I've highlighted this in red because I've highlighted previous jobs, but of course if you're a junior, there is a small chance that you probably, or a high chance that you probably didn't have a job for them. So this, in the junior's case, this would be hard, but you can also add on CVs any college or uni projects that you've done that you're proud of doing, and you can add them on to maybe it could be like a hyperlink of where you put your work on any website, and they can have a look at that and dive into that. Another thing is regarding what I said, if you enter any game jams, or like I did search for star, that's always nice to include, put stuff on there like that. Education, especially where you studied, there's always a lot of connections. I believe one company I remember going for an interview for, they knew my university very well, just because they studied there themselves, so it's always good to put where you came from education, just look at your background a bit more. Skills, definitely a big one. What programs are you good at? You know, some companies do still hire you, even though you might not have all the programs that they list in the requirements on the job role application. So it's always good to just put in your CV which ones you're good at. Surprisingly, the company that I worked for, Interior Night, I focused on Unreal. I did a lot of particle systems in Niagara, but their company focused on Unity, which is a completely other different games program. So I was able to still get hired there, and they could just teach me how to go about how their art style is, and it was really good to do that. Another thing is characteristics. Are you good at communication? Are you good in teams? Just personally, anything that you feel comfortable doing, so it's definitely good to put that down so they know where you stand, whether you're confident enough in working with a team, large group of people, smaller team, and so forth. Another one, which would probably be a little bit more of a personal thing, is interests. So this could be your hobbies, whether you like video games, or you do any kind of sport outside, and so forth. It's always nice to write your interests, because they want to know about you as well, not just everything you've done for yourself for this job. And portfolio links. Portfolio links are definitely one that could be put up at the top. This obviously can include your LinkedIn, ArtStation as the main two, as well as any other portfolio links that you may have or created for your self. Cover letter is another big one that they ask for. Sometimes companies do allow you to link something, so you can write it on Word and then have it, attached as an attachment. But some companies actually do give you a little box to actually write it all in. So usually around the lines of 500 words, so not that long at all. It's important because they let the company know that you're passionate about the job opportunity, you're excited to do it. But a tip for a cover letter, one matches all. As soon as you make a cover letter, unless it's outdated and some of the information you have isn't quite there, you can actually just make a cover letter and then use it again, as long as you go over it and make sure you're writing it to apply for another company. So, if you're going for, if one company did, accept you, you can then edit this cover letter, change it slightly, change the company title, bit about yourself, what the requirements are, and you're good to go. So it means you don't have to keep writing one every time you apply for a new job. So obviously, general information, your name, address, postcode, so they know your kind of location. If it's a remote job, this is fine, but it's always good to include. If it's more of a job where it has to be on site, then they will obviously let you know whether or not are you willing to move, and so forth. Also, as I said, it contain portfolio and social links, any social which you might have. So, searching for work. Searching for work can definitely be difficult if you pick a specialism that is popular as others out there. For example, in my line of work, a good example is VFX artist, which I am myself, versus comm artist. This comes under low demand versus high demand. Reasons for this is because VFX artists didn't used to be as a major role as for games in the past, until obviously we had new technology which could support big AAA games. For example, with big particle systems, good game references, something like Elden Ring. They've got massive effects in there. Another one you could also compare is material artists and environment artists. There is a lot of overlap with environments artists, which cause the role to be overly specialised. This means that the environment artists that create all the big buildings, city buildings, or whatever game it is, they tend to obviously texture their own assets. This obviously saves the company money from hiring special material artists to make all the materials themselves. Obviously this saves time and money. Most companies do this, especially the small companies, tend to obviously get, as mentioned, environment artists texture their own assets. So yeah, it can be rather difficult, but I wouldn't give up, because if you, like for example, material artists, people are still buying the bigger companies like Ubisoft do actually have their own material artists working for them. So regarding websites to search for, there's hundreds, but these are the ones I found to be the most useful coming from myself. First one we have is Glassdoor. They are really good because they are able to give off a basic salary rate as well. So if you in case you're looking more for a salary rather than what the actual job is, Glassdoor is a great website to have a look at. Total Jobs is another one. They're really good on looking for location. They also mention the salary as well, so it's another good one to have a look at. The one I'm most fond of, which I've used a lot for my jobs, is LinkedIn. They don't actually provide the salary that the company wants at the salary themselves, but LinkedIn you're able to connect your email up. So if you would like specific jobs emailed to you that are available that show, for example, junior roles, you can have them emailed to you and you can have a look at them and obviously apply. Another one, in fact, is ArtStation. They do actually have a finding a job on there. I haven't used it too much, but it's another website for you to look at. And you can find that obviously under the Jobs tab in Find a Job, which also has Find a Nice and Find a Student Studio. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Feel free to ask me any questions.